Head of the British Chambers of Commerce, John Longworth, who's been busy campaigning with the Vote Leave team this week, he left his post after saying the UK's long-term prospects could be brighter outside the EU, you may remember. Thank you very much for joining us. So, Lord Bamford, written to his employees in the UK to say why he favours a vote to leave the European Union. Is that a boost for your side?
Well, it's really great that Lord Bamford's chosen to do this as an individual, and we have over 500 entrepreneurs and business owners signed up to the Vote Leave Business Council, and they are supporting the Leave campaign. They're all doing it as individuals. What we're not doing is doing what the Remain campaign are doing, which is writing to employees, intimidating them and suggesting that it will be bad for their jobs if they don't vote to remain.
Those 500 businesses that you talk about, are they big businesses? I mean, do they compete with the likes of the businesses that have come out on the other side backing Remain, Airbus, Asda, AstraZeneca, Aviva, Babcock, BAE Systems, BMW? I mean, a lengthy list of some of the biggest businesses in this country.
There's a whole bunch of businesses who are supporting our campaign, both large and small. You know, the biggest business survey carried out most recently on the European Union shows that business opinions shifted very much to our side. The British Chambers themselves did a survey that looked at businesses that export only outside the European Union and businesses that operate only in the UK. The majority of those businesses want to leave the European Union, and the fact of the matter is they make up 87% of the economy and 94% of businesses.
In all, I mean, just looking at the British Chambers of Commerce statistics, 54% of members overall would vote Remain. It is down from a previous figure which was higher. But the British Chambers of Commerce point is that it tends to be the smaller firms with fewer than 10 staff that are in favour of a Brexit.
No, there were a whole mix of businesses that voted, that said in that survey that they wanted to leave. The fact that the survey overall had a majority for Remain was simply because there was a much higher proportion of businesses that export to Europe in the survey than are in the economy as a whole. The businesses that are signing up for the Prime Minister's campaign tend to be foreign-owned companies or businesses that rely on government contracts, and they're hardly likely to turn around to the Prime Minister and say, no, Prime Minister, we're not going to support you.
But they're companies that are bringing investment to this country and creating jobs. And we've heard from the head of Hitachi saying that the cold economic reality of Brexit could lead to investors holding back because of jitters over what it would mean.
There's no evidence at all that investment in the UK is falling off or that there will be any lack of investment. That's what businesses said if we didn't scrap the pound and instead join the euro. They said that they would leave the UK and disinvest. None of that happened. In fact, we went from strength to strength. Hitachi, of course, is a very good example of a company that's highly dependent on government contracts. And what's absolutely remarkable to me is the way the Prime Minister has actually shown a complete disregard for ordinary working people in the UK who are suffering because of membership of the EU as public services are put under pressure and wages fall and skills training tails off. Instead he's siding with the European elites.
Can you guarantee in the short term that jobs wouldn't be lost as a result of a Brexit?
We're going to have safer jobs and a more prosperous economy by embracing the globe and trading the world. 13% of the UK economy.
How long would it take to get, in your view, to that situation? Because the head of the World Trade Organization says there would be uncertainty, and uncertainty is always unhelpful to the economy. The chair of the US Central Bank, the Federal Reserve, is warning Britain leaving could have significant economic repercussions.
It's amazing how much political capital the Prime Minister has used in persuading his friends from around the world to back him, and I wonder what price we'll have to pay for that in the future. And it's amazing that the Prime Minister has spent his entire time talking down Britain rather than talking it up, and of course producing the uncertainty and instability that's happening at the moment. And the day after Independence Day, the Prime Minister is going to have to reverse everything he said and say that, and admit that Britain's going to have a great future outside the EU.
So do you think that when you hear the head of the World Trade Organization saying there would be uncertainty, that's a lie?
Look, it's only a year ago that the Chancellor of the Exchequer was actually saying that the World Trade Organization cannot be relied upon because it gets all of its forecasts wrong, which is in fact he's right about. They do get them wrong.
But is it true or not? Sorry, is it true or not that there would be uncertainty in the vote in the event of a Brexit?
There will be as the head of the Remain campaign said, Lord Rose, there will be a gradual and managed change if we leave the European Union, and nothing dramatic will happen. we have a long period of time in which to actually decide what we do, and we can actually withdraw from the European Union gradually. So there'll be some movement in the markets for a week or two, and then it will all settle back down because the real economy will start to go from strength to strength.
Which figures on the world stage, which significant economists are backing that view?
We had a massive report produced by 25 of the leading economists, including Patrick Minford, Tim Congan, Roger Bootle, etc., all saying that it would be better to leave the EU. And the Prime Minister's own advisor on the EU negotiations ran an organisation called Open Europe, which itself produced a report that said if the government adopted the right policies, we could actually have more growth outside the European Union than remaining in it. And let's face it, the WTO has a head who is currently being investigated for fraud, and a prior head who's actually been investigated for sexual misconduct. What sort of organisation is this?
In terms of what you call a gradual and managed period of change, it's not clear, is it, what would happen? I mean, you know, trade agreements, nothing would change. Obviously, you're saying it would happen over time, but there's no actual certainty that what you would want to see happen would happen.
If you want maximum uncertainty and maximum risk, the thing to do is to stay in the European Union, because only one of two things can happen. Either the Eurozone will consolidate and we'll be left on the margins, paying the bills, swallowing the regulations with no say, because it's a political project being run by France and Germany, or, as Lord King, the former Governor of the Bank of England, has said quite clearly, the Eurozone will explode. And you don't want to be in the same room when that bomb goes off, because we'll end up paying for it and clearing up the mess. If you want real uncertainty, vote to remain. If you want certainty, take back control of our own affairs.
Some of the things that you've been saying there have been quite personal about figures involved in the campaigning. Overall, what do you think about the campaign? Do you think voters have been well served by what they've been hearing on both sides? Are they getting clear facts here? And is it all because, sort of, does it boil down to, well, that side's lying, that side's lying? In the end, who do you actually really believe?
Look, it's really difficult for people. One of the reasons why I resigned was I was appalled by the way in which the Prime Minister had decided to become a campaigning organisation rather than putting both sides of the case to the people, and had actually decided to start intimidating and frightening people. This campaign has been running in an appalling fashion, and we're even seeing issues now around voting where voting slips are being sent out to people for whom it is illegal to vote. People from the European Union who should not have had those voting slips. My view is very simply this, and I've said it in a newspaper article recently. People say to me, I'm frightened, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to believe. I say, in those circumstances, judge a person by the company he keeps. I keep the company of two former Chancellors of the Exchequer, a former Foreign Secretary, and the former Governor of the Bank of England, all of whom have beholden to nobody except that they want the best things for the British people. The other side have a whole bunch of people who are signed up to the European elite, who are funded by the EU, or who are in some way dependent on government contracts and government largesse.
John Longworth, thank you very much for joining us. Let us know what you think on that and everything else we're talking about now.